Hi, my name is Sandoval-Sweeney. 3 things that you may know about me. 1, I work in fraternity and sorority life here on campus with a great staff team of Hannah Johnson and Molly Bennett. 2, I'm a dog dad to a pretty adorable golden doodle, Alfred, who comes with me to some programs. I talk with him a lot. His pictures are all over my office, so I'm pretty proud of that. And 3, I would say that for folks that I've had a chance to work with, that if anybody has a question, a concern, a problem that they want to share with me, that I'm somebody who will always take the time and attention to listen and hear those thoughts through. 3 things people probably don't know about me. 1, a lot of people on campus refer to me as Austin Sweeney. I actually have 2 last names, Sandoval-Sweeney. My wife's last name is Sandoval. The name that I had going into our marriage was Sweeney, and we chose really intentionally to merge those 2 names together. Something else that people may not know about me, I used to work on campus for the Relationship and Sexual Violence Prevention Center. And the last thing that people definitely probably don't know about me is that I come from not just a home, but from a broader family culture of divorce, marriages, and relationships that have not worked out. Both my parents got divorced, as well as all of my aunts and uncles on both my mom and my dad's side. Rewind back to when I was 17 years old. I had just finished up something that was really important to me. I had attended the same summer camp program for 7 summers in a row and had just graduated and finished that experience up. Literally the exact day that I finished up that summer camp experience and came back home, my mom told me that night that her and my dad would be getting a divorce. For a long time, I had noticed that my parents weren't getting along very well and seemed to lack the friendship that is central to a marriage. Because of all that, I was not terribly surprised. I chose to not think too much about it, didn't talk much about it. People asked me, of course, all the time, how are you feeling? And I chalked it up to, you know what, I think this will probably be a change for the better. And no, I'm feeling totally fine. I took all that with me into college, and really throughout college, and even a little bit after that, I kept a pretty similar lens of, my parents divorced, it is what it is, it's never really fazed me very much. Take another big step fast forward to about 2014. I start to date somebody who would go on to be my wife currently, Laura, who works here at WashU as well. And I was feeling that lifelong commitment was what I wanted to make. Fortunately, she said yes on April 9th, 2016. And so we got into being engaged, and up to the point where I was, getting engaged, and throughout the engagement, and even as our marriage started, something around my parents' divorce started to come up for me. Regardless of whether or not you feel all the confidence in the world, when you get into something as serious and consequential as marriage, who doesn't want guidance and mentorship and support and navigating through such a big thing, such a beautiful and important thing? And I found myself thinking about, not only did my parents get divorced and not make it work, but also everybody, brothers and sisters' wives on my mom and my dad's side, all my aunts and uncles, many of them had entered into marriages. None of them had lasted, the first one they got into. I'm admittedly a pretty superstitious guy, and all that narrative kind of started to come into my mind, and I started to think about, I feel so good about what Laura and I have here, but how do I know I'm going to be different than my family? I found myself wanting advice. I found myself wanting to have mentorship and people I felt were close to me and my family that I could ask about marriage, and I felt resentful to my parents for the first time ever about their divorce, because I made all these assumptions that they didn't make it work out. So how could they give me any sound advice on how I should approach this lifelong commitment? I started to go to a therapist to kind of process through all of this. I was encouraged to question a lot of assumptions I had about my parents and try and open up to them a little bit. I think oftentimes this is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do, but you got to realize that your parents are people too. And by and large, I think everybody that I have ever come across is essentially always giving their best. And through therapy, I was also engaged around this idea that just because my parents' marriage didn't work out, didn't mean that they, 1, didn't want to be there to be mentors and support people for me as I was entering into my marriage, and 2, it didn't mean that they had nothing to contribute in terms of things that are important and tips I should be thinking about as I was engaged and going into my first couple years of marriage. And I got to learn a lot from my parents about what didn't go well and red flags and road signs that they had, not just in their marriage, but even in their engagement. I understood I didn't have any of those red flags or road barriers on my path and my love with my wife, Laura. So where I'm at now is in a place where I have more than ever a sense of positivity, optimism, and sense of autonomy over where my relationship is going. And I would also encourage anybody that feels like they are currently tucking feelings or pieces of resentment or confusion away about anything, a parent divorce, or anything in their life, that it's important to be honest about things that could impact you, and to never hesitate to revisit and go back through things from your past.